All right, over here at the top right, we have a Terran player who just took out jookTo with a nice timing attack. He is
MVP King.
Shot of him now. Keen on winning. Now at the bottom left, we have a Zerg player. He's got his work cut out for him. It's going to be hard.
jookTo.
People, when they do those intros, they have a tendency to yell at the end instead of talking faster. It's going to be hard. Didn't say it faster at all. I just said it really loud. By the way, we're sponsored here by LG Cinema 3D, G-Skill, and Intel. Without those sponsors, none of this would be possible. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, this map is a 3-player map. It's a newer map for those of you guys who don't know. And in the middle of the map, there's a Xel'Naga Watchtower. And it wouldn't be a Xel'Naga Fortress without a Xel'Naga Watchtower, but there's something special about the Xel'Naga Watchtower. There's a shot of it now on this map. It actually blows up after 8 in-game minutes pass, so you can no longer use it. So that's something interesting to note about this map. It's very unique to Xel'Naga Fortress. Overlord scouting in the incorrect direction. That's okay though. And so far, no gas for Keen, so he may be planning on going for a really fast expand. Or 2-raxing. There's actually one of the first 2-raxes I've ever seen since I've been here casting the GSL. It almost looks like it's fallen out of popularity, but no! Keeny's like, it's not out of popularity, I'm bringing it back. And meanwhile, as you can see, jookTo is going for a speedling expand, which is pretty safe. And I'll talk a little bit about how these two builds clash together here. Now, when you do a 2-rax pressure build against a Zerg player who goes speed first, you can sometimes still end the game if you do it just right, if your opponent doesn't kill your bunkers off. But, at the same time, if your attack doesn't work well, you've got to get out of there fast, because as soon as Zergling speed finishes, those Zerglings are going to run all over your Marines. Any Marines that aren't in bunkers are basically dead meat. You can cut off reinforcements extremely easily, so you have to play it very safely against a Zerg opponent who's going for Zergling speed. And jookTo had a drone at the top of his ramp, seeing what he can see. Does back away. So it looks like Keen is keen. I swear I'll stop making that joke eventually. To move out here. 4 Zerglings made for jookTo. He's going to target down that SCV. Unfortunate for Keen, but he is going to get in here. He does see the hatcheries just started. He's probably going to assume it's a speedling expand. Will he see? Does see. In fact, he was able to see that gas is still being mined for jookTo. jookTo actually did that last game as well. Mined a little bit of extra gas, just in case needs to make a baneling nest, wants to make those roaches. A lot of people just get 100 gas and pull them out. Like, no more gas, don't want any more. And here comes that pressure from MP Keen through the middle of the map. Targets down these Zerglings. They are caught, and that's pretty huge. Losing all those Zerglings means he's going to have to make more, and every Zergling that you make is half a drone you could have. So I should have said every 2 Zerglings you make is 1 less drone. jookTo still actually only making 2 more Zerglings right now. In fact, he's only got 5 Zerglings out right now, so he's going to have a total of 7 when this attack hits, and if he doesn't control that perfectly, he's going to be in trouble. Nice does try to catch those reinforcements. Here come the drones. Going to try to do what they can. It looks like Keen doesn't really even want to try to bunker. He's targeting down drones, gets 2 of them, 3 of them in fact. Oh no, jookTo didn't even control his drones, didn't run them away, lost all of those drones. That's a huge hit. It's like as huge as you could get. I mean, that's like the best that that Keen could hope for. Now he's got his bunker placed in the perfect spot. There aren't any drones really to come over here and deal with it. And jookTo is in a lot of trouble. He's actually about to lose that queen right now. Zergling speed has finished. The bunker may get up though. The bunker's about halfway done. Nice positioning of those Marines, but it looks like the Marines will be cleaned up. The bunker is canceled, but 20 SCVs to 12 drones. In fact, that's pretty huge within itself. But even so, MP Keen has already started his command center. His command center is 3/4 of the way done. jookTo in a lot of trouble. He made a ton more Zerglings as well, and those Zerglings, like I said, are not drones. Zerglings trying to poke up the ramp, not going to work out. And this is a really tough position to be in as a Zerg player. You lose a lot of drones, and basically you sacrifice map control because you can't keep making Zerglings. If you keep making Zerglings, you're not making drones. Baneling Nest follow-up here from jookTo. Now that's for 2 reasons. First of all, if your opponent makes 2 more barracks and all-ins you with a ton of Marines, which Keen has added 2 barracks. Doesn't look like he plans on doing an all-in. But he powered up a lot of barracks, and if you make too many drones, you need those banelings. If you don't have a high Zergling count, you've got to have those banelings, to deal with the Marines. Otherwise, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Don't think he really plans on doing any aggression with that baneling nest, but that is a possibility. He could try to put some pressure on, but it's very unlikely at this point. Zergling is going to take out that bunker. Unfortunate for Keen. It's one small victory for jookTo. And his quest to come back here in this series. 2 tech labs being made for Keen. He has added his gases. And similar to how I was talking about yesterday when you do the gasless expand, when do you add your gases? You add them after you do your little pressure, you add a double gas. You do it after the command center though. You get the command center first, then add your double gases. And then if you're doing a TVZ, you can follow up with 2 tech labs. Even if you only have 2 barracks, if you want to kind of follow up with the factory, you can add 2 tech labs as long as you're planning on going bio. Get stim and get combat shields ASAP. They're very important upgrades. And when you're ahead of your opponent, there's basically no reason not to spend that money and gas on those upgrades. So bunkers going up here for Keen. He's preparing for a possible all-in because when you're this far ahead and your opponent starting to be a little aggressive, he's got Zerglings outside your base, you just got to play it safe. You don't want to just make one bunker and go, well, you know, he's probably not going to attack me. He's probably making a lot of drones right now. The alternate, as you can see here, the alternate is he's going to make a ton of banelings and attack you. And I actually am a little bit surprised by this from jookTo. It could end up working, but it's not a thing you normally want to do when you're 1 game away from losing a series. Look at that. That's actually 15 banelings in production. And if Keen doesn't see this coming, he could straight up lose to this attack. He only has 2 bunkers. Doesn't have siege tanks. The bunkers are split up nicely, but it's not like he can pull SCVs to help defend here. And wow, jookTo's doing such a good job of denying the scouting here, but here comes some Marines. Is he going to catch them off guard? Here comes the attack. jookTo moving forward, cutting off some of those Marines. They're not even going to be able to get into the second bunker. He's going to actually completely ignore that bunker. There's banelings running in. Oh, killing so many SCVs running up here. The supply depot is down. Does break through the supply depot. There are a few Marauders out. The barracks go down, and the Zerglings running in here. The Marauders actually tanking a lot of hits. 1 baneling hits all of those SCVs. Most of those SCVs on low hit points, but looks like the attack will be cleaned up. Doing a ton of damage, though. Now the drone count is 28 to 23. And a lot of those SCVs and a lot of those units on low health, and basically losing those production facilities, losing some of those SCVs is pretty huge, but in a sense he's also lost map control because now jookTo has a ton of speedlings out on the map. He can sit back and drone, tech up if he wants to. I'd be very disappointed in him if he tried to go for another bust because there are a lot of Marauders out. He's rewalling. He's very prepared for something like that this time. Does pick off one or 2 of these SCVs, trying to get to one of those SCVs. The Marines are like, get out of here, get out of this bunker, chase you down. I was just chilling in the bunker, watching TV, waiting for your next baneling attack. Made me get out of my bunker and chase you down. Look at that, make them do it again. These poor Marines, look at them chasing them down. It looks like they actually stimmed as well, so a force stim there, pretty nice. Another small victory for jookTo. Now, to give you guys supplies right now as these SCVs and mules die to Zerglings. Right now it's 59 supply for jookTo to 57 for Keen, so pretty close in supply. Basically though, Keen is not mining from that base right now. jookTo has denied that mining several times in a row, and that's very frustrating for him. In fact, he's going to lose more SCVs. Nicely done, targeting down those SCVs. Might have wanted to target down the mule. The mule is actually low on hit points, but even so, making a second baneling nest. jookTo, he is just in case, that's what I like to call the just in case baneling nest. It's like the double observatory build that you guys may have heard about back in StarCraft 1. Like the double robotic support bay, and he's actually not even going to notice. It's not a huge deal, it only costs 50 gas, but it's a very surefire sign of a player who's getting a little bit nervous. Now, when you make a second baneling nest like that, it's because this is actually kind of a normal timing to make a baneling nest when your opponent's pushing out like this. So he's like, alright, this is the timing when I need to make a baneling nest, but he's already made one, so he doesn't need to do it, and that's why he's probably making that mistake. I'm sure he's going to realize at some point. Yeah, he's got to realize now to start baneling speed. But in the event that Keen drops to try to snipe his baneling nest, at least he's got a spare. Speaking of banelings, jookTo morphed about 15 of them just then. He's got map control somewhat with those speedlings. He's got the ability to run around this small Marine and Marauder force, but, or at least he feels that way. I'm not to say he actually has map control because he doesn't, but I think he felt that way. But when this attack comes, he's not going to have a whole lot to deal with this. The Marauders at the front to tank the baneling hits. Do have concussive shells as well. Throwing away a few banelings and Zerglings there. You have to be very decisive when this kind of push is happening. You have to attack. You can't just throw units away. And Keen very happy with how that went. He's actually just going to back up a little bit because, you know, he killed a few banelings and picked off some of those Zerglings. So he's like, wow, I've got map control now for sure. jookTo, you kind of back in your base. But 6 mutas are coming out for jookTo. He did get that Spire up. He's actually started his +1 flyer attacks. Baneling speed on the way as well. So, Keen, by the way, His factory just finished up. He has started a tech lab. He's going to start a second factory. But he doesn't really have siege tanks yet, so he's really relying on those Marauders to deal with the Banelings. And one wrong step, and Keen could be in trouble. He looks like he has a pretty convincing lead here. I mean, he's 10 supply ahead. He's got a very scary army. He's got a sense of map control. But when there's Banelings about, you make a wrong move with your Marauders on the wrong spot. The Marines get hit. Opponent's got Baneling speed to engage on creep. Things can get nasty. So don't count jookTo out just yet. He is losing some of his creep, though, in the middle of the map. Luckily for him, he has been doing a pretty good job of spraying that creep throughout the mini-map. Alright, so here come those Mitas now, going to do their first harassment. Take a picture with their moms, like, oh, it's my first harassment, Mom! Look how many SCVs I killed. Killed a few SCVs. Meanwhile, though, Keen does move out and force the cancel of that third base. Missile turret trying to go up. These Mitas are actually doing a pretty decent job with their harassment. Killed a few SCVs, stopped that supply depot from being built. jookTo did have a few isolated forces. jookTo, though, or Keen rather, had a few isolated forces. jookTo didn't really capitalize on it. There he goes. That's what you need to be doing. When you find that one force that goes to snipe your hatchery, at least just kill it, because you've got tons of speedlings on the map. Why not? Oh no! Here comes a huge engagement. The Zerglings in a pretty good spot, but nice splitting by Keen, and jookTo smartly decides to back away. A little bit indecisive. If he had just attacked, he might have done some damage, but I think it was a good choice to back away there. And he needs to be very decisive about how he engages this one. He needs to get those speedlings behind the army. He's not quite able to do it. Some good splits by Keen. Wow, losing very little there. And why is jookTo running away? He actually had enough to clean that army up. That was a little bit strange. You can tell by watching this that jookTo's a little bit nervous about this match today. Not exactly doing his best. You know, a lot of people are really critical about jookTo. He say he's not that good, he doesn't have that many results, and he's fallen down to Code A, then fallen out of Code A. But he's definitely a pretty good player. I mean, he took out any pro. So it sounds like I'm being really critical of him, but he has done well. I mean, look at that. Picks off 2 medevacs and clean up some of these SCVs. And in fact, Keen kind of in a funky position here. He can't really go back into his main. His army is really far away. He's going to try to catch these Mitas on their way out, but because most of his army is down there, jookTo's like, well, I'm just not even going to leave. He's here to stay, picking off some of those depots. In fact, now Keen is supply blocked. He's in the red. Looks like Keen wants to get some revenge. He's like, well, you're going to kill my supply depots, I'm going to kill your overlords. Keep you down. There are 5 siege tanks on the map now. A lot of the Marauders have fallen away. In fact, there's only 1 Marauder left, so those siege tanks now, the main unit that Keen's going to want to use, he's going to have to use that very well to deal with the Banelings, especially if he wants to engage on creep. And jookTo could have isolated that force and attacked it. There aren't that many Marines there. Could clean those up. In fact, he does have +1 on those Mutas. Does engage, kills 2 of those siege tanks and backs away, or should back away. There he goes. Loses nothing. So jookTo actually doing a very good job of controlling the map. He did get that third base up. It's up and running, whereas Keen can't really safely take a third base right now. He's kind of struggling to pressure. Now he's got himself in a pretty good spot. Sieged up at the bottom of this ramp. jookTo trying to flank a little bit here. Here he goes, flanking from 2 sides. Banelings coming down the ramp, and actually the Zerglings cleaning up everything below. Muta's cleaning up as well, and jookTo taking a huge lead here. Cleans up that entire army, including the medevacs. Supply count right now is 130 for jookTo, 95 for Keen, so cleaning up that attack was pretty amazing and well done. He's actually taken the 4th base during all of this, running in here, sniping some of these Marines. In fact, maybe wants to target down some of these supply depots, and does target them down. Gets away before the Marines chase him. Does lose 1 Muta. So Keen has 2 factories, so he's getting a lot of siege tanks out, but he needs to make sure he keeps those Marines alive because the Mutalist count is starting to get a little out of control. Once you hit 20 Mutas and you're not losing them and they have +1, I mean, that's out of control. You know, when you've got 6 Mutas running into your base killing some SCVs, you can kind of deal with that. When you got 20 in there, it's like you lose a supply depot when they're running, you lose some of your siege tanks, like you see here on the screen. That's pretty rough. Mutalist count is getting pretty intense. Does have +1 on all those Mutas as well. Does have +1 melee attacks as well for his ground units. He's going to run in here. Realizes his opponent doesn't have that many units. He's going to try to capitalize on it. Does take out that bunker. Baneling's actually kind of wasted there. Does take out a siege tank. May get this tech lab as well. Did get the tech lab. That's going to stop siege tank production at one of those factories, at least temporarily. And it looks like Keen wants to go in over here to do a little bit of damage at the 4th base. Completely shut down. jookTo playing beautifully here. Keen took an early lead, but I think got a little bit sloppy in the end, and now he's kind of stumbling over himself, can't take a 3rd base. In fact, hasn't even started a 3rd command center yet. jookTo with 4 bases up and running, completely saturated. It's looking pretty strong. I take it back, that's 3 bases, not 4. I can count, I promise. Here at the GSL, only higher casters who can count, I promise. Alright, here comes jookTo for another attack. He's got a lot of banelings. There aren't that many siege tanks and they're falling quickly. The banelings has to be very decisive about where he wants to send them. He's going to choose to go for the SCVs. The SCVs are completely balled up. A lot of the SCVs do get away, but some of them fall. The mutant's doing some damage to the SCVs at the same time as well. And here come the banelings. All of those SCVs on low health, and GG comes from Keen. So we are going to go to a 3rd game. Wow. There's a shot of the jookTo now. He's going to take a sip of his drink. It looks like it says i7 on the end. I don't know if that's an Intel drink. Intel has i7 processors, by the way. I've got one at my computer back at the GOM house. I'll tell you what, I actually had an Intel quad-core processor back in the States. Got my i7 here. I'm like, whoa, it's pretty different. It's pretty awesome. Keen actually looking a little bit disappointed after that game. jookTo, man. I know he doesn't really show it in his face that well, but I can tell he's really pleased with how that went. And he's like, all right, maybe I've got a shot at this after all. By the way, I don't know if the producers can hear me, but I actually can't hear the game audio on my screen. I hear the Korean audio, but it's not going through my headset. So if you guys could fix that, that would be awesome. But there's the win. Talking to jookTo now, congratulating him. jookTo, man, he looks, he's like, whew, you know, he's taking a deep breath. He's like, all right, I got that one. 3rd map is Crevasse. You can do this. Crevasse, very macro-oriented map. And Keeney's actually starting to show a little bit of nervousness, I think, after that game where he was ahead and then started to fall behind. He basically got a ton of drones for free there. And, you know, he followed up nicely, but he had a lot of units out on the map split up into different groups. When you have a lot of units on the map split into different groups and your opponent has map control with a ton of speedlings, he'll isolate those small forces and clean them up, and then suddenly you're like, uh-oh, I don't have that big of an army, and I can't actually deny his bases. So if I can't deny his bases, what am I going to do? And I can't even take my own expansion because the Mutalist count's getting kind of intense. I mean, once you get to 20 Mutas, like I was saying, they come in there and they kill stuff fast. They basically, you know, like 2-shot supply depots, kill tech labs really, really quickly, kill a bunch of SCVs. It gets pretty scary. So there's a shot of me now. I wasn't sure if we are going to jump right into the 3rd game or not, but it looks like you guys are going to see me. I've been talking and talking and talking so constantly. Just take a deep breath. Calm down, sit here at the GSL. Very excited to be here, guys. And I really appreciate all the viewer support I've gotten. You know, I get a lot of pleasant messages on Twitter every day, and I really appreciate you guys' support. By the way, my Twitter is FXOWolf. And I will try to start taking some user questions on Twitter during downtime while I'm here casting by myself because I don't have anyone to like bounce ideas off of when I'm just kind of sitting here. So I'm just like having a conversation with thousands of people listening to me. Sitting here smiling at the camera, talking to myself. I was going to make a joke when I came here to the GSL today. I was going to say, you know, normally when casters come, they say, hello, I am Wolf and with me is, and I was just going to say, I am Wolf and with me is Thin Air. There's no one with me here today. All right, here's a shot of our players again. The score is 1-1. The map is Crevasse. jookTo spinning in his chair a little bit. Looks like one of those model cars, like spinning around in the circle for people to look at. All right, so countdown has started. It's a TBZ. Who's going to take this game and advance to the round of 16? We'll find out. Will jookTo play another solid game, or will Keen crush him here at the GSL Super Tournament, sponsored by LG Cinema 3D, G-Skill, and Intel?